There's nothing more beautiful than a woman shopping for a new dress when she's in love. I will always remember Robert looking at Francesca and saying, "This kind of certainty comes but once in a lifetime." Thank you so much for coming back and seeing me and Desi. I am so excited today. I am doing my most requested video. You have asked me the last couple years to do a look back at the movies on the bridges of Madison County, and that's what I want to do today. It's about a woman feeling loved, following her dreams, and being appreciated, and being free. And all that represents to so many of us. I remember the night I first saw the bridges of Madison County. It was in 1995. And back then there was a Blockbuster, and Bill and I had rented 3 movies. And I do remember the other 3 movies that we rented, and I didn't like them. And he had already gone to bed. And we were dating. Oh, by the way, Bill was my boyfriend at the time, and later on, years later, he would become my husband, but he was my boyfriend. I'm sorry I didn't mention that. So that's who Bill was. Bill had gone to bed, and I was up alone, and I watched the bridges of Madison County, and I cried so hard and so loud at the end of that movie, I woke him up. I remember so clearly how I saw that movie in 1995. Here was this beautiful middle-aged woman. She was such a free spirit, such a beautiful smile. And she was from Italy. She met her husband. He was fighting in World War II. He took her home to America and brought her to Iowa to live on a farm his family had had in his family for over 100 years. And there she would be, and suddenly meets this handsome Clint Eastwood photographer. And she's immediately attracted to him. And I thought it was so romantic. And I was rooting for her because I knew that she had been so repressed and so sad. And here was this man that he had nobody. He had his job. He had his work. He loved his camera. He traveled the world. He even knew the little town from Italy that she was from. Probably he was the first person that she would meet in 20 years or more that knew the city that she was born in. So you could see where her bond with him would be so immediate. So they fall in love, but it's so complicated. But what I took away from that movie was here was a woman who had a chance at happiness. And even though she had a husband and she had teenage children, down deep, I wanted her to go with him. I knew he loved her. I knew he would take care of her. I even said in my mind her husband would be all right and she would send for her children. I mean, I had the whole scenario all figured out, how they could be together. But she didn't go. She didn't go with him. She stayed. Many would say she did the right thing. And maybe she did. But all I saw was a love story. And a woman who was unfulfilled. And in my mind, stayed unfulfilled for her entire life. My family on my mama's side are all from Italy. Italy isn't all that far from my little town, is it?
Desi, what do you want to do today? Do you want to go to Italy? I want to go to Italy too. Do you know how to speak Italian? You do? I'm impressed.
The most shocking thing to me, last night when I was watching this movie, when Clint Eastwood and Meryl Streep, they're in that kitchen, they're falling in love, they're having dinner, they're having some brandy. And this time around, I didn't relate to Francesca. I related more to Robert, the photographer that traveled the world, that didn't have a family, that never settled down, that had no one that loved him. I related more to him. He was an artist and he was struggling with that. But he fulfilled so many dreams by taking his pictures, becoming a National Geographic photographer. Francesca, she did have a family that loved her, but her dreams weren't fulfilled. So they were this perfect match. I related to her as well. Before I watched the movie, I knew Clint Eastwood wasn't 51 years old. I knew he was 65 years old when he filmed this film. So when he, in the film, looks at Francesca, I realized it was like musical chairs. It was like when the music stops, you have to grab your chair, but when you're older and you're alone, sometimes it feels like when the music stops, you better find the person that loves you. You better find the person that will help you with your journey for the rest of your life before the music stops, before it's too late, because time is running out. That's what I saw in his face. And I always wondered when I saw that film, I thought, now here is this handsome photographer, and she's so lovely and so charming, but why? Why is he willing to spend the rest of his life with her? Why does he want to take her with him forever? It didn't make sense to me when I was 40 years old. Well, it makes perfect sense to me now. The music was going to stop. She was his last real chance at love and at happiness. And when she looked at him, all those dreams, all those unfulfilled things that she wanted to do in her life, if she went with him, she could travel the world. She could be part of his photographs. She could learn to be a photographer herself. She was a free spirit, an artist at heart, a passionate, loving, wonderful woman who loved him, and he loved her. So I understood for the first time why it was such an incredible bond between them and why they each possessed what the other one needed so desperately, but would never, ever have. That's what I saw. At the end of the film, I never remembered that Meryl Streep has her hand. I knew she had her hand on the doorknob to get out of the car because she sees the man she loves is stopped in traffic, waiting for her to get in his truck. I knew she had her hand on that door, but I didn't know she pulled the lever. I didn't know she pulled that handle until last night. So she was going to go. What stopped her? What stopped her? Before she opened the door, he was pulling away. I think at that moment in time when he was driving away, she felt that he had released her, that she was free. Somehow, she was free. She could go on with her life. She could survive those years on that farm. But he gave her something that would last a lifetime and beyond.
This kind of certainty comes but once in a lifetime.
Last night I was reminded that we are only given so many chances and that we have to live with those consequences. We are the choices we make, just like Francesca says in the movie. In 2016, there's a little part in a video I did back then where you see me walking in to visit a friend of mine who is a musician, and you actually see he and I hug. And let's just call him David. And so you see David and I hug. And I realized when I saw the footage of that back, I realized how much I love that man. I've known that man since I was 16 years old. We grew up on the same side of town and both became musicians. And he chased me around. He tried to date me for 2.5 years. He knew every song I wrote. He knew everything about me. He even watched my videos. He was so kind and so thoughtful. And he would always say, "I've loved you forever." And we did date a little bit too, out of high school. But I kept putting it off. The timing wasn't right, Well, I've got to work. I'm not quite thin enough. I want to, get in a little bit of shape before we start dating and this or that. That went on for over 2 years. Well, I lost a little weight. I got in shape. Job was going good, so I thought, okay, now is the time, right? I'm going to go see him and we can start dating, right? Everything on my timetable, everything's going to be great. No. 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 For 2 years. I thought he'd always be there. He'd always be waiting for me. It's like the music stopped. And he found his girl, and it wasn't me. But I was happy for him. Really happy. Hurt, we're happy. I mean, timing in our life is everything. But I was so sad. A few months ago, I got a message from him in the middle of the night. And all it said was, "I'm still madly in love with you. I just want you to know that." Nothing improper, no meeting set up, no phone calls, not even a lunch. But just that I know that he cares enough to say that to me, it's enough. It's like at the end of the Bridges of Madison County, how she takes the necklace that she gave Robert and she clutches it in her hand. And you get the feeling it was enough. Those 4 days were enough. I understand that now. I really do.
I may never get there, to all those beautiful places I dreamed of, but I have touched the world.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for being here today. Doing this video meant so much to me. If you get a chance down below, could you share your feelings about the movie The Bridges of Madison County? It would mean so much to so many of us here. Please have yourself a wonderful brand new week. And when you're done with your week, come back and see me and Desi, okay? All right, it's a deal. We'll be here.
But I did touch the world, and the world touched back.